What on guys, Commander here. Welcome to my first impressions and opinions review of the Star Wars Theory Vader Fan Film. Now, I wasn't going to do a review on this originally because I thought it's just one of those things. It's going to be like a new fan film that you see all over the internet. You know, I know he's put a lot of money into it and it looks really good, but it's not something that I thought at the time would be worth making a video on, because it's just like these videos that people put a lot of work and a lot of effort into because they love the Star Wars community, and it's just going to be like, this is what we've got. Oh look, it looks really good, and we'll just wait for the next episode. But looking at it and watching it, I'm doing this video the day after it came out, so as of recording this, it came out yesterday. And I watched it and I thought, I've got to do an impressions and opinions review on this. It's that good. Now, this video is the main reason I wanted to do this video is I went through it looking at it and I thought, generally speaking, this is a very good good little fan film. And Disney, I know everybody said this, but Disney could learn an awful lot from this fan film, because this is what everybody wants as far as Star Wars is concerned. Not crap like The Force Awakens, and not what people say garbage, but I say not half bad, but not what we got in the sequel trilogy. Not Solo, because that was rubbish. We want stuff a bit more like Rogue One. Because Rogue One, for all it was, however predictable it wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty good in a sense. But we want more stuff like this, like what Star Wars Theory has posted out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through all the things that I really liked about it, and then I'm going to go over the things that I didn't like. Now, there isn't a lot of things that I didn't like. It was just some little things that I looked at and I thought, that doesn't look right. That after watching Star Wars movies for my entire life and watching things like Clone Wars and spin-off movies and all that, I looked at it and I thought, that doesn't look quite right. It's not bad by any means of the imagination, but it's something that just doesn't sit right in my stomach. So, first of all, we're going to go over the things that I liked. Now, the first one is, it looks professional. Now, I know that Star Wars Theory I've been following this fan film since it was in its first concepts, and it looks professional. He's put around 100 grand of his own money into it, and he can't monetize it because otherwise he'll get copyrighted from Disney and Lucasfilm. So he's put 100 grand of his own money into it. He cannot get any of that back from crowdfunding or Patreon or anything. He can only get it back from donations that are for his channel as a general purpose. He cannot get that money back off of this fan film for crowdfunding or anything, because that's based on copyrights. But for all of the effort that he's put in and all the money that he's spent, that money has gone really well, and you can see that he's spent 100 grand or more, or however much it was. I can't remember. It might have been 10 grand. I can't remember. But on what we've got, because this is like professional stuff. And now I know it's only 20 minutes, but what we've got, it looked like that money was well spent. He's got professional cameras, all the professional suits, and all like movie accurate suits. Really good effects and really like good story writing as well. Really good directors as well. So I think it looks really good professionally. Now, the second bit that I really liked is good acting. Now, I don't really want to, like, dwell on this too much. I just want to say the fact that it's got really good acting. Now, the reason why I put it across is, like, we've got characters from the prequel trilogy, such as Padme Amidala and little Anakin. Now, looking at how they talk, and I know it's only a small little minute majority, but looking at how they talk and how the actual actors talk, so how Natalie Portman and how the what's his name, little Anakin in the Phantom Menace talk, it's quite different and it's better. Now, I know I have my problems with the prequels. I know a lot of people have their problems with the prequels, and I know I have my problems with acting in the sequel trilogy because a lot of it is still quite stilted and quite dull and monotone. But when you get these fan films, they're just that much better and that much more like better acting in a sense. So I don't want to dwell on that for too much, but I just want to put that out there as like, that's what I thought was really good. The acting was on point. Now, the next thing I wanted to go on to was the effects. Now, I know that the effects, Star Wars Theory got professional he got about 5 professional, same as he did with the actors, but he got 5 professional effects groups and put them on his channel and said, you choose which one's the best. And me and everybody else thought this one was the best. Now, they did not disappoint. It was absolutely awesome. From the lightsaber effects to the lasers to the deflections to putting it in on par with like the Force and how that works and all the Sith lighting and everything. It was absolutely brilliant. Even just the lighting effects. Even just lighting effects at right at the end where Darth Vader's looking down the hole at the lasers and the little just lights flash, and you can tell there's actual battle going on down there without there having to be any actual like visually deaths happening. You can tell there's chaos going down there, and that just goes to show how good those effects actually are. So, you know, even just lasers at the start where the clone troopers are firing on Darth Vader and he's swinging his lightsaber around, or even just holding them in the skies still like Kylo Ren did. It's so like movie accurate that like it's like something that Disney could come out with if they put their backsides into it, but unfortunately they don't, and this is the next best thing, even the first best thing that we're going to get. But I thought it was really, really good and really like movie accurate, and that's what we want to see in the cinema. I would have loved if it was to be like an hour long and he spent the next couple years like making like a half an hour or even just an hour version of it and spent longer doing it. But for what we've got as like a taster, maybe the next episode is going to be like 40 minutes long, which I would love. And maybe he's just doing this 20-minute episode as just a teaser, maybe. But I would have loved to see this go on for a little bit longer. But irregardless, the effects were absolutely brilliant. Now, the next thing I liked is the fact that it's a good start to a story and bringing the story good in like its own light. Now, what I mean by that is that I looked at it when I first watched it over. I thought, well, Darth Vader's in a dream to start off the story, a bit of like a surreal dream, and I thought to start off with that it's a little bit goofy having him start as start in a dream, and starting the story with Darth Vader in a dream. You know, you could have had that just start bang in the middle of another episode while he's like in a Bacta tank. But then thinking of it, I thought about it a bit more, and I thought, well, if the episode then went to him going to sleep in a Bacta tank, and then we had the vision, then would that have been much better? And I thought to myself, no, it's not actually. I think it's perfectly placed. And considering the episode's called Shards of the Past, showing their past with little Anakin and Padme in Vader's vision, I think that actually works really, really well. So it starts the story off in really good light. Now, little niggly bits about the story, like all the clone troopers firing on him because he's trying to kill Palpatine. I don't see why he needed to be defending against a squad of clone troopers and then having some more clone troopers come in and firing at him again with like these machine guns. But that I thought was a little bit off, and I don't see like why he couldn't be facing against a lightsaber with 2 of his armed guards. I don't see why they couldn't have done that. But as the story is concerned, I think that works really, really well as it's the start of a story and bringing the actual main basis of the story into light. How Darth Vader is still struggling with the loss of Padme and how he hates Palpatine for saying that he could save Padme's life and she ends up dying anyway. So I thought that was a really, really good way of starting off a fan series that I know is going to be a solid hit. Now, this next point, I have goods and bads on this one, just in general. Now, this is going to go from the bits I like into the things that I don't like with one point, and then we'll carry on with things that I did not like. Showing Vader in a different light. Now, the reason why I liked this in a sense was because we've always seen Vader, aside from the end of episode 3, which I choose to forget because that was just ridiculously stupid. We all know Vader is this tough, hard Sith Lord who will just slay anybody in his way that he does not like. But because we're just short after Revenge of the Sith, I think it's like takes place 3 months after Revenge of the Sith. Darth Vader's still getting used to not being Anakin Skywalker anymore and being a powerful Sith Lord, but trying to detach from his attachments and still being a weak, emotional person because he's not used to letting his holding on to his anger and using that to fight for him. So it's showing Darth Vader as a weak person being overcome by his emotions and allowing his emotions to take over. And I like the fact that we see Darth Vader in that light, because we all know that he is like a hard-faced, like, murdering machine. But to see Darth Vader go from the transition of Anakin in the movies to Darth Vader, we don't see how we went from an emotional young actor that was just an emotional young man who was just absolutely just like succumbed to by loads of trauma by the death of his wife, to the, as he found it, the death of his kids and the death of his mother as well, to this hard murderous machine on that we see at the start of A New Hope, or even by the end of Rogue One. And I think that we see Darth Vader in the light that he is trying his best to overcome his emotion, try and be that hard, like, Sith Lord that he needs to be, but he can't be that. And I think showing him battling this, like, both sides, the light side and the dark side within him, is a really good way to show his transition from the light to the dark side. And in this instance of showing Vader in a different light, on the bits that I don't like, the bit where it shows Darth Vader and Padme hugging at the end of near the end of the Vision, after he kills Palpatine, said kills Palpatine, and he hugs Padme. For some reason, I don't know why, but that to me looks really sloppy for Darth Vader. I know like I said, he's trying to succumb to his emotions, but that looked really like a sloppy move that Darth Vader wouldn't take, regardless of him being a Jedi or a Sith. And I know that's his Anakin-ness going through, and then Palpatine turns around and says, as Padme, because you can't take control of your anger and your emotion, that is why you will always fail. I thought that was really good, but Darth Vader hugging Padme, I just thought there was just something really sloppy about that. Maybe it's because I always know Darth Vader as this hard machine, and seeing him go around and hug somebody, let alone just Padme, just makes it look really, like, weird to me. But something just makes me, like a lot of people say that, like, at the end of episode 3, where Darth Vader screams no at the end, near the end of episode 3, that says, oh, that would change everybody's perspective on Darth Vader for the rest of their lives. That scene where he hugs Padme will sort of change my opinion on Darth Vader a little bit. I know it's not going to major because it's not like an official Star Wars canon movie, but that would always be in the back of my mind whenever I see Darth Vader, you know, that he did have this emotion, and he is not this hard, full-on hard man anymore. You know, it's not that I didn't like it, and the outcome afterwards, like, it only lasted about a second or two, and then we got Palpatine come and just destroy that emotion within a second, and I thought it was really, really good. But I don't know, something about it that just made me just turn around and think, you know what, like, that doesn't sit right properly, you know. So it wasn't bad, it just wasn't a good move in my personal opinion. Now, these next two are not things that I thought were bad, I just thought that could have been improved a little bit better. And the first one was Palpatine just as an actor. Now, Palpatine, they got the acting, the actor, and the voice was absolutely spot on. I'm not moaning about the actor or the voice actor at all. I thought they put that pinpoint accuracy, and I thought it was really, really good. But the problem is how they dressed Palpatine. Now, in Revenge of the Sith, I always thought this, and even in Revenge of the Sith as well, and even when he was Darth Sidious, Palpatine always looked better in the shadows, because he was a shadowy figure. He always looked better in the darkness talking and you could not see his face properly. Now, in the Vader Fan Film, you see Palpatine walking around and you can see his face. It's just like he's got a hat on with his hood. Now, whenever he is in the shadows sitting down on his seat and his face, half his face was covered by a shadow, that was absolutely brilliant. That was the Palpatine that I want to see. But when he's walking around and you can see his full face, when you see his full face in front of you, I thought that's not the Palpatine that I know. And it just looks I like it better when he's in the shadows. I think he should have just sat down and maybe if he was going to walk around, just edit the shadows a little bit so he is covering most of his face, so he looks like this mysterious Sith Lord that he shouldn't show his face too much. You know, it's just a little niggly thing, but it's just something I looked at and I thought, I don't like that. You know, I prefer him better here than I do here. It's not bad, it's just, I like it better here. So, that's something that I thought was just a little bit weird. Now the next thing, again, this is just a little tiny detail that I thought looked a little bit goofy. And that was the death of the clone troopers right at the start. And the clone troopers, how they died was they got shot, they jumped back, they stepped back, and then they fell forwards. If once they had died, they got shot and they fell completely backwards, like they do in the Clone Wars TV show, excuse me, or like they do in Revenge of the Sith, or even in A New Hope, let's say, I would have liked that a lot better because it's a lot more realistic than having them just be shot back as if they just step back and then fall forwards. That looked really goofy to me just watching it, and I thought that's just a bit weird. It's not bad because they died in like a reasonable fashion, and it's not like they got shot, stood up for about 3 seconds and then died. But it took too long. I think they should have just been shot and fell straight backwards on their feet. Or on their backs. And just made it like even that more, just much more instant. Personally. Again, it's just a little niggly thing, but it just looked a bit goofy to me when I was watching it. So that is about what I have time for in this video here. That, again, all of what I've said is just what I think. You know, the little bad bits are not to things that make it bad. There's definitely more good bits in it than there are bad bits. But the bad bits are just little niggly things that I thought just didn't work quite as well as they could have done. You know, all it needed to do was just, like, Palpatine and the Palpatine in the shadows and the Death of the Troopers could just be changed by editing it, just change it just slightly. Just like a little tweak could have made that, make that fix and make it look that much better. You know, and again, some people might disagree with me. Some people might say it looks perfectly fine. But me looking at different films, Star Wars films that I've seen and then watching this, it looked like different, if that makes sense. And it stood out like a sore thumb to me that was different. And that had been, like, changed from what it was originally. So again, I really enjoy this. I hope I'm gonna follow. I do follow Star Wars Theory, and I hope he makes more of these fan films. I hope the next episode is going to be a bit longer though, because as an introduction, 20 minutes is perfectly fine. But I hope this next episode is like 30-40 minutes, maybe a bit longer if necessary. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, more awesome gaming content, and I shall see you all later. Bye!
that caring for you will always remain.
Anakin.
Padme.
And that
is why you'll never defeat me. As long as you let your feelings anchor you, forever shall you remain weaker than I. Always the servant, always the slave, young Skywalker.
Anakin! 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 Anakin!
Lord Vader, you have an urgent message. My lord?
Proceed.
The Emperor demands your presence at once. Lord Vader?
As he wishes.
Gods, leave us.
What is thy bidding, my master?
You are distressed, my